due respect to WWE's regular roster of referees, they are, at the end of the day, a bunch of boring, rule-abiding jobsworths, half of which you would struggle to pick out of a lineup. Like I said, with all due respect. Then there are the special guest referees, the superstars and sometimes celebrities who lend a helping hand between the bells and add a bit more intrigue to proceedings. Are you ready to be sports entertained? I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 best WWE special guest referee matches. Join us!
But before we start, speaking of special guest referee matches, that is just one of the new game modes in WWE 2K24. On top of special guest referee matches, WWE 2K24 sees the addition of ambulance matches, casket matches, gauntlet matches, a whole bunch of new superstars, new weapons mechanics, improved backstage brawl, heaps of unlockables, and my personal favourite, a brand new showcase mode celebrating 40 years of WrestleMania. Showcase of the Immortals covers all the classics: Savage Steamboat, Michaels vs. Razor in the ladder match, Rock Austin at X7, Firefly Funhouse, Rhea vs. Charlotte, and so many more. As well as that, there are brand new stories to play in My Rise. You've got My Faction, Universe Mode, My GM Mode, all on the best looking WWE game ever. Grab your copy now using the link in the description below and finish your story.
Number 10, D-Generation X vs. Rated RKO referee Eric Bischoff at Cyber Sunday 2006. Cyber Sunday gave WWE fans the power to vote for what they wanted to see, offering a choice of opponents, stipulations, and on occasion, special guest referees to pick from. This was the case when DX met Rated RKO at the 2006 edition of the show. Somewhat surprisingly, former Raw General Manager Eric Bischoff won by a significant margin, garnering 60% of the votes. Somewhat less surprisingly, Triple H, Michaels, Orton, and Edge had themselves one hell of a tag team match, going back and forth for 18 exciting minutes. Eazy-E stayed out of the way and let them get on with it, until an errant spear by Edge, meant for Michaels, took him out of the equation. HBK then hit the Legend Killer with a super kick, with referee Chad Patton entering the fray and trying to count the pin, only for Bischoff to pull him out. From there, Bischoff allowed Rated RKO to utilize chairs without calling for the DQ, and Orton pinned Triple H following an RKO onto the steel. Needless to say, DX weren't gonna take such meddling lying down, and duly got their revenge on Bischoff the next night on Raw. Number 9, the WWE title six-pack challenge, referee Stone Cold Steve Austin at Unforgiven 1999. The WWE title was in limbo heading into Unforgiven 1999, and Triple H was one of 6 combatants looking to claim the company's top prize, hoping to see off The Rock, Kane, Big Show, Mankind, and the British Bulldog. It was a tall order, made just that little bit taller due to the presence of ringside enforcer Steve Austin. Stone Cold would have been in the match had his dodgy neck not limited his in-ring activity. He was still the biggest thing on planet Earth, of course, so WWE naturally wanted him involved somehow, and he certainly made his presence felt on the night. While the sextet scrapped inside the squared circle, Austin entertained outside of it, drinking beer, throwing out zingers on commentary, and interacting with whomever came his way. After regular referee Jimmy Corderas was inevitably bumped, the Texas Rattlesnake took over, beating up a gaggle of other refs to prevent their meddling, before counting the 3 for the Cerebral Assassin to end a really good, and it must be said rather underrated, match. Let's face it, stunners and Steve Weisers will always send the fans home happy. Number 8, CM Punk vs. Daniel Bryan, referee AJ Lee at Money in the Bank 2012. The rivalry between CM Punk and Daniel Bryan had been brewing for a while and looked set to end at the 2012 Money in the Bank Premium Live event. They had set the bar high with their technical masterpiece at Over the Limit, but the rematch would be an altogether different affair because this time, AJ Lee would be there to act as special guest referee. AJ had a history with both men, having shown affection to Punk, Bryan, and the Big Red Love Machine in a bizarre storyline where they played it up like Lee had a screw loose after being dumped by D-Bry. Adding to the fun, the match was also made no disqualification. And they certainly made use of the stipulation, with this match being more of a brawl than their previous ones, incorporating weapons like kendo sticks, chairs, and tables. AJ tried to block a weapon shot from both men, but really that was as far as her involvement stretched, as she stayed out of the way and let them do their thing. The quality of the action more than made up for any lack of storyline twists and turns. Number 7, Shawn Michaels vs Stone Cold Steve Austin, referee Mike Tyson at WrestleMania 14. As 1998 rolled around, the Monday Night Wars were in full flow, and WWE was facing some stiff competition from WCW, whose business had flourished thanks in large part to the exploits of the New World Order. WWE had their own ace hiding up their sleeve, however, and brought in Mike Tyson for the road to WrestleMania 14. Naturally, Tyson immediately got into it with the red-hot Steve Austin. The interactions between the baddest man on the planet and the toughest SOB in WWE were solid gold, and Tyson added a lot to the build for Austin's upcoming WWE title match with the Heartbreak Kid. Having joined DX prior to the showcase of the Immortals, Iron Mike clearly held a bias as the bout's ringside enforcer. The match itself was good, although limited due to Shawn's debilitating back injury. However, they got through it and put on the best show they could before Austin hit the stunner and Tyson slid in to count the 3 as referee Mike Yoda was incapacitated. The post-match turn, which saw Tyson deck Michaels and celebrate with the new champ, helped get the Austin era up and running in a big way. Number 6, The Undertaker vs Bret Hart, referee Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam 1997. The main event of SummerSlam 1997 saw The Undertaker defend his world title against Bret Hart. The dead man had been champ since WrestleMania 13, the same show where the Hitman turned heel. On that show, Bret had originally been scheduled to wrestle Shawn Michaels, who suffered a case of lost smile and a painful knee injury, to be fair. Feuding on-screen and off, the excellence of execution and the Heartbreak Kid were the focus here, with everyone just waiting to see which one would batter the other first. Hart was desperate to regain the title too, having agreed to never wrestle in the United States again should he lose, and took Taker to the limit in a grueling near 30-minute battle that saw both men come close to winning. In the end though, it was Michaels who proved to be the deciding factor. After confiscating a chair from Bret, HBK got a face full of Canadian spit for his meddling. Incensed, Michaels attempted to knock Hart's block off, only for him to duck, with Shawn's swing hitting the Phenom instead. Uh-oh. All that was left was for Michaels to count the fall and ponder just how slow and painful the retaliation beating was gonna be. Number 5, The Rock vs Triple H, referee Shawn Michaels at Judgment Day 2000. Almost 3 years after his SummerSlam performance, Shawn was right in the middle of it again as the man called upon to officiate the 1-hour WWE title Iron Man match between The Rock and Triple H. Now retired, Michaels had been an intermittent presence on WWE TV and had actually reffed another match between the two several months earlier, hitting the great one with some sweet chin music to keep the title around the game's waist on the first ever episode of SmackDown. Rocking some banana smuggling bicycle shorts, Shawn did his best to call the Judgment Day main event right down the middle before getting bumped with the score tied at 5 falls apiece. That was the cue for The Undertaker to make his long-awaited return, riding his way to the ring and laying out Hunter's mates left, right and center. Fans assumed that the time had expired and The Rock would retain his title on a draw, but Michaels called for the bell and awarded his former running buddy the decisive fall via DQ after witnessing the American Badass cleaning house. A dramatic end to a great match, and once again, special referee Shawn Michaels was heavily involved in the controversial outcome. Number 4, Batista vs The Undertaker, referee Stone Cold Steve Austin at Cyber Sunday 2007. Back to Cyber Sunday now, and once again, the fans were given the power to pick who they wanted to see in the striped shirts. Now, out of a choice of JBL, Mick Foley, and Steve Austin, who do you think the WWE Universe wanted to be the third man in the ring when Batista defended his World Heavyweight title against The Undertaker? To the surprise of absolutely no one, the Bionic Redneck walked it, garnering a whopping 79% of the vote, with Foley taking 11 and JBL 10. Before the match even got underway, Austin got some ass kicking out of his system by hitting Bradshaw with a stunner before the Animal and the Deadman came out for a highly anticipated retread of their thrillers from WrestleMania 23 and Backlash. Like those outings, this was another knockdown drag-out affair that kept fans guessing right up until the very end. After slugging it out for 17 hellacious minutes, the champ executed one last Batista bomb to finally put Taker away and retain. Austin was pretty much a non-factor here, but the match itself was awesome. Number 3, John Cena vs Daniel Bryan, referee Triple H at SummerSlam 2013. WWE Champion John Cena was allowed to pick his challenger for SummerSlam 2013. Surveying the crowd for their opinion, Big Match John agreed to give the ever-popular Daniel Bryan a shot at the gold. Raw GM Brad Maddox, who had screwed D-Bry with a fast count in a match against Wade Barrett, attempted to make himself the special guest ref, but Triple H overruled him and named himself as the human zebra for the big SummerSlam showdown. And then he gave Maddox a pedigree, because of course he bloody did. A rare babyface versus babyface pay-per-view headliner, Cena vs Bryan was absolutely sensational, taking fans on the proverbial human rollercoaster ride with plenty of nail-biting near falls. Somewhat shockingly, the American Dragon went over clean as a sheet by busting out his new running knee finisher. Then, whilst he was celebrating, Triple H, an inconspicuous presence during the actual match, turned on Bryan to facilitate Randy Orton's Money in the Bank cash-in. So that's why he was there. A great match and a seriously great post-match angle, Hunter's betrayal and Orton's title win were one hell of a cliffhanger to end the biggest party of the summer on. Number 2, Stone Cold Steve Austin vs Bret Hart, referee Ken Shamrock at WrestleMania 13. As noted earlier, Bret Hart was supposed to take on Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 13 in a rematch from their world title Iron Man match the year prior. Lost Smiles caused a direction change, with the pink and black attack instead continuing his dispute with Steve Austin, and the two were booked in a submission match on the grandest stage. With that stip in place, it made sense for somebody who knew a thing or two about tapping people out to act as special guest ref. And so, former UFC star Ken Shamrock made his WWE debut. There must have not been a referee shirt big enough for those massive arms, so the world's most dangerous man went for the suitably intimidating sleeveless and biker shorts look. The match was, of course, a total and utter classic, with the authoritative Shamrock doing his best to keep Hart and Austin in line. It was also Ken's call to end the match when a bloodied Stone Cold passed out while locked in the sharpshooter, ensuring that Ken's first night in a WWE ring was a memorable one. His post-match waistlock takedown of Hart offered a small taste of what Shamrock would soon bring to the promotion proper. Number 1, The Undertaker vs Triple H, referee Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 28. 1 year after they pushed each other to the limit in a no-holds-barred war, The Undertaker and Triple H sought to end their dispute once and for all inside Hell in a Cell. Billed as the end of an era, a man with extensive history with both men was drafted in to act as referee. Shawn Michaels was not only Hunter's real-life bestie and former DX tag partner, but had also been forced to retire at the hands of The Undertaker 2 years prior. All the elements were there for some high drama, and the match did not disappoint. The best cell match in some time, and one of the best ever, both superstars laid it all on the line and laid into each other with heavy leather for 30 incredible minutes. Far from being an impartial observer, Michaels found himself right in the thick of it, getting involved by nailing Taker with sweet chin music, with Triple H following it up with a pedigree for a hair-raising near fall. After weathering the storm, however, the dead man was able to hit a tombstone and extend the streak. Physically and emotionally exhausted, all three embraced after the match, putting a bow on one of the most epic sagas in WWE history.